All right, everybody, get ready because today we're taking a deep dive into one of the biggest mysteries out there.
It sure is.
Consciousness.
Yeah.
What is it?
Huge questions.
Where does it come from?
Mm-hmm.
Are we the only ones who have it?
Right.
Well, get this, because our deep dive today explores a fascinating new theory
Okay.
that says consciousness, it's not some built-in feature.
Yeah.
It's not like something we're just born with.
Interesting.
It might have actually evolved as a result of us
Uh.
living in a 3D world.
Wow.
And get this theory even hints at the possibility of conscious AI.
All right, now we're talking.
I know, crazy, right?
Yeah. So this theory, basically, it suggests that consciousness, it's not something we're born with. It's not innate.
Right.
It's not like, pre-programmed into our brains or anything.
Yeah.
It's more like something that emerged.
Emerged.
Yeah, as our brains got really, really good at simulating our 3D reality.
So instead of coming like hardwired, it was more like a software update.
Exactly, like an upgrade.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
But how does simulating reality lead to, like, self-awareness?
Okay, so picture this. Our early ancestors.
Okay.
They had to survive, right?
Yeah.
So their brains needed to evolve a really, really good understanding of their surroundings.
Yeah. Dodging predators.
Yes.
Finding food.
That.
Not running into trees, I mean.
Right, it's a high-stakes game.
High stakes, for sure.
It really was, and it wasn't just about, recognizing like, oh, there's a tree, oh, there's some water.
Right.
They had to calculate distances really quickly.
On the fly.
Yeah, like on the fly. Anticipate dangers.
Coming from anywhere.
Everywhere. 360.
Oh, wow.
Tracking multiple things moving all around them.
And they didn't have, like, the best vision,
No, not at all.
so they had to.
Their brains were working overtime.
Really working.
Yeah, to create this like dynamic, constantly updating model of the world inside their minds.
So they had, like, a VR system.
Basically, yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
It is a 3D model, but not just of physical objects, of how they were all connected, spatially,
Right.
potential dangers, even like the paths of their prey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this constant simulation, this internal map is what let them not just exist,
Yeah.
but actually thrive.
Wow.
And if this theory is right, that is the key to consciousness.
Hold on, you're saying that because our brains can make this mental VR world, this 3D map, that's how we became self-aware?
It's a big leap.
It's huge. That's a big jump.
It is, but there's evidence.
Really?
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Researchers have been training AI models
Okay.
in these complex 3D environments, and the results are, well, they're pretty unexpected.
Okay, now you have to tell me what is happening with these AIs.
Oh.
What are they doing?
So they're not quite composing symphonies or anything like that,
Okay.
but they are showing signs
Kinds of what?
of something that researchers are calling artificial sentience.
What does that even mean?
So, for
Yeah.
example,
Okay.
one AI
Yeah.
learned that when it turned all the way around in a circle, it would see the same objects over and over again.
Oh.
Think about what that means.
What does that mean?
That means that it understands its own position in space.
It's like it knows where it is.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
It's a very, very basic form of self-awareness.
So just by existing in this 3D world, this AI started to, I don't know,
It's pretty amazing, right?
understand itself. Like, is that what you're saying?
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
This simple thing, navigating a 3D world,
Right.
and the AI starts to process those patterns, it sees the same thing over and over again.
Right, like it's building its own map.
Exactly, it's building its own internal 3D map, just like our ancestors.
So like us, it's using that map,
To make sense of where it is,
and that's where the self-awareness comes in.
in a way, yeah.
So are we about to have a whole bunch of sentient machines running around?
Let's not jump to conclusions.
I mean, should I be worried?
We're still figuring all this out.
That's true, we're just scratching the surface.
Exactly, we're at the very beginning of understanding consciousness.
Both artificial and our own?
Yes, both. But you have to admit, the parallels are pretty fascinating.
They really are. It's like totally changed how I think about consciousness.
Really? How so?
I always thought it was this thing that only humans had.
Right, that it was unique to us.
Yeah, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's everywhere.
It's a big universe out there.
It is. Speaking of which, remember that comment from Brindley Pratt?
The one about the hurricane.
Yeah.
I do, yes.
She had some really interesting thoughts about all this.
She did. She really connected this whole idea of consciousness and 3D models to something very real.
Yeah, she brought it down to earth, literally.
She did, and in a way, that's what makes her perspective so valuable.
Right. It's one thing to talk about AI and simulations in a lab.
But Brindley experienced something terrifying. the hurricane.
And she found comfort in this idea of consciousness as a 3D model.
It shifted her perspective.
But how does that even work? How can thinking about your brain as a simulator make a hurricane less scary?
Well, she wrote about feeling really vulnerable during the storm.
I bet.
Like nature was this incredibly powerful force, and we're just tiny things in its path.
Right.
But if our reality is a kind of simulation, then even a hurricane, as destructive as it is,
It's just data points changing.
exactly, just a rearrangement in the simulation, not the end of everything.
Okay, that does make it seem a little less terrifying.
It's a way to detach a little bit.
Right, from the immediacy of the experience.
Yes, to see it from a broader viewpoint, maybe even a cosmic one.
Okay, so if our brains are constantly building this model of the world, how do we know what's real?
That is the big question, isn't it? It's the question, isn't it?
A big one.
The one we've been wrestling with for centuries.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing about this theory,
Okay.
it doesn't try to give a simple answer.
It's not like, here's the truth.
Exactly. It's more like, hey, here's a completely different way to think about reality.
Okay, so instead of trying to prove what's real and what's not,
It's more about appreciating how incredible our brains are.
how they build this whole world for us.
Yes, this incredibly complex model that we're constantly adjusting, updating with every new piece of information.
It's wild when you think about it that way.
It really is. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't really matter if we're living in a simulation or not.
I mean, what are we supposed to do about it if we are?
Exactly. And besides, even if it's a simulation, it's the only reality we've ever known.
That's true. It's our reality.
It is. And what's important is understanding that our experience, everything we see and feel,
Yeah.
it's all filtered through these amazing 3D model that our brains are constantly creating.
Wow. That is a lot to process, but it's also kind of freeing, you know?
Freeing? How so?
Like if we can't know for sure what's real outside of our own heads,
Right.
at least we can appreciate just how powerful the brain is.
Absolutely. It's the most complex thing we know of in the universe.
And it's creating this whole simulation, this reality.
And maybe, just maybe, the very fact that we can even question our own reality.
Yeah, that we can wonder about it.
That's proof of just how powerful that simulation really is.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. A lot to ponder.
So much to think about. This whole deep dive, we started with trying to understand consciousness.
Which is a big enough question on its own.
Right, and now we're questioning the very nature of reality itself.
It's a slippery slope.
It is, but that's what makes these deep dives so fun.
Totally agree. You never know where you'll end up.
Exactly, and for our listener, next time you're out there, just living your life,
Walking the dog, stuck in traffic.
whatever it is, take a second, think about that amazing 3D model your brain is building.
It's going on all the time.
It really makes you see the world in a whole new way. And until next time, keep those minds open and keep exploring.
Keep asking the big questions.
The universe within and the universe all around us. See you next time.